Hello everyone, this is Ibrahim and we're still doing the Learn Flutter videos. Before we dive into this video, I just want to apologize for the background noise that's taking place. I wanted to stick to my schedule and yet these guys decided to do the construction today, so even though it's Quran time. Anyways, so I hope it does not affect the sound much, so I'll jump right in. So in the last video, we've done this effect where we have these indicators controlled by this page view as it's scrolled, and it's also controlled by this button here. Now we want to, basically this video is finalization to this onboarding screen. We've spent enough time on it, but we've learned much concept, so that would allow us to sweep through the rest of the screens that we have for our blood donation app. So first things up first, we need to get rid of this header, this bar. We don't need it, so I'm taking rid of it. I'm getting rid of it, so if we try to save, this is the updated version. So we have a padding, which is not exactly looking the way we're hoping. This is not what we want it to look like. So we need to add. Let's modify this. Instead of it rounding the edges over the column, rounding all of these edges here, we just want to add a simple. We want to control each and every every side. So instead of all, we want to do from left to right bottom. So let's have a left be, let's have this be 5 and the top be 30, the right be 5 and the bottom also be 30. So nice. So this is a 5 and this is so the inner part is like 30 and this is a 5 and this is a 30. But what we also want to do is we want to control the borders, the space over the, what do you call it, over the border. Okay, so to have a clear understanding, the difference between padding and margin. So margin basically means the space outside of the border, and the padding is what's inside of the border. So after the inside of the border. So if we try to copy and paste this, and instead of padding, they both take the same class, which is the margin, and see what happens. See, it had made the changes to the outside of the border, outside of the column. Okay. So we're through with that. We've gotten rid of the app bar, which is simply by removing the app bar implementation in the scaffold widget that we currently have. Now the next step would be to add a bit of animation. So page view again is really powerful. We've added a controller. Basically, we control this page view from an external incentive. So there is also something called within page view called physics. So we can just add physics here, and then we just add the type of animation we like. So like in this case, we could go, let's see, bouncing scroll physics. We could just do this and see what happens. So now we have the bouncing scroll physics. So what this does is when you reach the boundaries of the page view, you get to see this effect right here. If we opt for the clamping scroll physics, for example, like so, the effect will actually change to this. See, there's no, it's more like clamps to the edge of the screen. But let's go for bouncing scroll physics, and you get to see this change right here, like so. Alright, the next step would be to, like, instead of us having these captions, we'll change the text to its suitable, meaningful content. And one thing that I wanted to do is this button here. What if we decided to just show this button on the very end, like only make it visible when we reach the very end of the page? Now that's very simple. We just need to use what is called the visibility the visibility widget. So let's just wrap this one with a widget, and let's call this widget the visibility widget. Well, it is not us calling it, but it is actually called the visibility widget, and it takes in a child of a flat button. Now we have here, this exposes us. This exposes the visible option for us. Now the visible option, um, basically it means that it's either true or false. And what we currently have, if you have noticed, this page view controller. And if we scroll up, we have this page index as well. So we want to confirm that if the page index is on the very end, which is, since we have a fixed number of elements to display in the page view, we know that there's a problem. Okay, so we know that the moment we reach index of 2, we are on the very end. That's when we want to display this next button. So let's do that. So if so, the condition is if page index equals 2, okay, is true. Otherwise, I want to return false. All right, let's add a bit of spacing to this one. So it's very simple. This is only visible if page index is 2. Otherwise, it's false. And so this only would be displayed on the when we reach the very end. Notice that this on pressed now has to change to transform us to the next screen we want to display. Instead of boarding the dots, let's go ahead and display, say for example, the list of maybe the screen that asks the user to decide which blood group he wants to donate to, whatever. Anyways, let's just test this one. Now we're on the third screen, and that's what we wanted. So we're on the first screen, second screen, there is no next, but the moment we reach the third screen, we get this nice next button here that takes us to the next page. So that was basically it for this video. We can add, so if we wanted to do like we want to animate these indicators, it's very simple to do. We just need to wrap this indicators container with an animation container. So this indicator setup returns a list of indicators which we display right about here in this row here. Okay, so now we need to add animation to the circles, like so. So we have this indicator setup that returns a list of indicator elements, which is the single circle here. Instead of us returning a container, what we can return is an animated container, and everything else remains the same, except that we can add what is called a duration, the duration of the animation. So you can add a duration like so, and in the duration it takes in the duration class of, it takes in the option of either milliseconds, whatever that you so desire. Basically what we have done earlier on, if you hover over this duration, so this actually takes in days, hours, milliseconds, microseconds. Let's go with milliseconds. So milliseconds, let's give it a 200 or 300. Let's give it a 300. And then comma. So what we can also add is that if so we want to we could have the width and height be maximized if the is active is true. So we could have this 20 if it's normal, if it's unactivated, and larger if it's activated, just slightly. So if is active is true, so if is active, give it a 30 maybe, and otherwise just give it a 20. So we just could duplicate this right here. So let's replace this right here. So the animated container gives us this exposure to this duration here, and the rest can be implemented in any, like, without having the animated container. Now if you take a look, See how that changes? It's like it gives you this transition effect. There we are. That's nice. Okay, nice, isn't it? Okay, so basically we can call that a wrap up. And one final thing you could do, I know this might be ugly to have this like pull the content upwards, is that you could put this outside this column here. Or because we already use the scaffold, we also have exposure to what is called the bottom uh, the bottom let me try to look it up, the bottom something, bottom sheet. Yeah, and then we could just, we could just do it right now. So let's go. This is the body, this is where it ends. So before the scaffold ends, we could add a bottom sheet, and the bottom sheet takes in any kind of widget that you want to display in it. So we could just simply implement these flat visibility widget right here. Just we could copy and paste it right here. Oops. What is the problem? You just need to add this. Let's see. Notice that it's right here. The next is right there. Now you could just like center it instead of it like being stuck. Now centering it is quite simple. What we can do is wrap this in a container. Now if you can wrap this or in a center widget like so, and add a bit of height to it so that it does not take, or you know what, let's do it in a container instead. Let's wrap this in a container and give it a height. Give it a height of say, otherwise it will take up the whole space as the container stretches automatically to the all of it, to the full space available to it. And you can have this go for 100. And yeah, we could also give it a color of red. Colors dot we have the theme. Oops. Colors theme of context, and then we give it a primary dark color like so. Let's see. It's 100, so let's give it a lower value. Let's give it an 80. And then yeah, the primary thing we wanted to do is alignments. So we want an alignment at center, bottom center. Okay. Okay, the spacing it takes, the height is a bit too much for it, so let's go for 60. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Now, if we take a look at this effect, it's pretty nice, isn't it? Now, we could do one final thing to finalize this, is add the colors to, what do you have? Do you have dark? No, do you have red? Yeah, red is good. There we have it. So this is the onboarding screen for you, and the moment you hit the third one, you get that beautiful next button that takes you to the second screen. So now we're done with the boarding screen. The next thing would be for us to learn about the list of views in what we call on the next screen, where we create this slider that allows the users to choose their blood group and accordingly suggest the supported blood group types. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. Just a quick recap. So what we've done so far is that we try to add a bit of animation to the indicators here by wrapping the indicator element with animated container. Very simple step to do. We just added a duration here so that the animation would be visible, and then we added a bit of height to the active indicator. And then we've also what did we do? We've also made we added a bit of physics to the scrolling effect here, like when you reach the end of the scrolling elements, the scrolled elements, the bounce scroll physics. Yeah. So thank you for tuning in and have a good one. See you in the next one.